Welcome to the Clean Hits Hockey Podcast. I'm your host, Brad. We got Corey, we got Kenny, and we got Cole Bagley phoning it in from New York in a minute here. But first off, I got one word for these past couple days, and that is wow. What an electric first two games for the Utah Hockey Club. Won the home opener 5-2. I may have guessed it. I may have guessed the correct score along with the first goal score. I know. I'm sorry. I have to. Got to get the dust off my shoulder. Yesterday, what looked like a kind of heartbreaking loss, Doan tied it up seconds later, takes us to overtime, and then Mr. Costco himself, Dylan Guenther, showing that he's got that dog in him, scores in overtime. Just a wildly fun game. And the Islanders have been a team that has pushed this franchise around for years and years. I feel like we always play them in Long Island at the start of the season, and it's always a very boring 1-0, 2-1 type loss. And it really sets the tone of this first road trip. Well, if this sets the tone this time around, these next two games against the Rangers and the Devils are going to be amazing. Another thing I want to bring up is waking up this morning and going to NHL.com and taking a look at the stats, especially the goal score. We have the number one goal scorer in the league. I know we're only 2 games in, but Dylan Guenther sits on top of the list with 4 goals. Mikko Rantanen had a hat trick in his first game, along with Kopitar in his first game. But crown the king. Don't forget, if you follow our Instagram, once we get to 100 followers on our Instagram account, instagram.com/cleanhitshockey, we will press this awesome Dylan Guenther Costco card with a little tip of the cap to somebody named ODB way back in the day. So get us to 100 so we can print these. I want to be wearing one. I know you want to be wearing one. So jump on that. A little bit more house cleaning before we get into these past couple games and get chatting with Cole. Don't forget to sign up at cleanhitshockey.com. That's where you're going to find all of our written pieces. Right now, we are doing kind of our inaugural pricing, we could call that, which is $5 a month, $40 annually, or that $60 Ute price. After the team loses 3 games, we are going to be bumping up these prices a bit. This is the best way to support this podcast, to support our blog, to keep that content coming, help us get some upgrades with equipment. This is, again, the best way to kind of help us just kind of achieve some new goals, let's just say. So, again, 3 losses and the price is going up, so now is the best time to do that. Who knows? Maybe it never happens. Maybe this is just going to be the price locked in all season, but that would be a pretty historic thing. Boys, how you doing today?
Yeah, we're going to go, 79, 2-1, right?
That would be the Boston record from 2 seasons ago. Yeah.
That would crush the Boston record. No, I mean, great start to the season, right? I mean, you look at the roster and pretty much every player is playing well, and not only first on top of that goals chart, but first in the NHL standings as well. I mean, it is very early, but enjoy the successes while they're here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Guy, I got to be a little honest. So I didn't really know, like, preseason game was fun, right? We got we've been following the team and watching, and you're getting the excitement level. But when the first game happened, I knew it was going to be a little bit of a different feeling for me, right? I mean, I've always been a Coyotes fan. And I turned on the game not really knowing what to expect. And I was actually working, so I apologize for all the bar patrons that were there that night. I was wearing my Utah shirt. Nobody understood what it was. They're like, "What is that?" I'm like, "You've got to ask. Like, you're not in the know." And I'm sitting there. There's music bingo going on, and I'm sitting there. You can hear me like, "Come on, let's go!" Like, and I'm screaming in the background. Beers are empty and all that. So, I didn't really know what to expect, but man, I am 110% bought in, and this team is so exciting to watch. And you can just tell they've got all that pressure off their shoulders and are playing fun, free hockey. So really, really excited for the next few weeks to see where we're going.
Yeah, I'm sorry if your tips were poor that night, but at least you got a good game.
Oh, it was so fun. It was so fun. But yeah, it's all good. I'll take that any day.
Yeah, Trent and I were at AZ Ice Gilbert to watch the game with some friends, and it was kind of cool. They had it up on the big screen, and it seemed like a lot of people there were paying attention and were obviously probably Coyotes fans, and people were cheering for goals and stuff. So it kind of felt right at home, which was really cool. Obviously, it feels different, but I'm excited. I mean, how could you not be from that game? All right, we're going to bring out Cole in one moment here, but again, don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, at cleanhitshockey.com. Kenny's doing some really, really fun stuff on the Instagram, especially. And don't forget to give us a subscribe on YouTube at Clean Hits Hockey. We're on Spotify and Apple Pod as well. Again, all that support really, really helps us out. And then again, you can find all of our written work at cleanhitshockey.com. All right. We will just give it 1 sec for Cole. All right, without further ado, let's bring on Cole Bagley and see how that road trip is going. Cole, how you doing, man?
Good. How are you guys?
Oh, we're doing great. I mean, how could you not be after that OT win last night?
Yeah. Unreal. Like I was speechless when not only when Doan scored to bring him back level before the game ended, but then when Gunnar he just threw that thing in the back of the net. My hands went over my mouth like that. Like I couldn't believe what had happened, and it just deflated the Islanders fans. Because they, it was a pretty decent home opener for them. Like that, it's a pretty cool arena, UBS Arena out there in Long Island. It's well constructed. It's very new. Kind of an intimate arena. Nice seats from pretty much anywhere inside, and it was rocking, especially when the Islanders went up 4-3. So for Doan scores the goal that ties it up, and then when Gunnar scored, you could just feel the energy get sucked out of the place. But what was crazy is how fast he shot the puck. A lot of people didn't realize it went in. So
Varlamov was still looking for it.
Yeah,
yeah.
So that was something else.
I watched both of those replays. The one thing that really stood out for the Doan goal was his hustle to get up the ice and break through the two defenders there, or maybe it was a forward and a defenseman. Cruz right in between them. His stride was huge. He's not necessarily known as a fast player, but once he puts that extra effort in there, it's almost kind of like watching a horse. Just once that momentum carried him, he just broke through, and then, man, just totally crashed in that. Unbelievable how quickly that changed the entire game. And then, that Gunther overtime goal. The way he stops as the three of them were, I think it was Jersey and Cooley, or was it Jersey and Keller?
I think it was Jersey and Cooley, I think.
Yep.
He just pulls back.
He hit the brakes so hard. Sprayed snow. Like
that's such a high IQ play too, because they see them crashing the net, and normally that's what you're trained to do. But he went against the grain and stopped up, and I just watching it back and just solely focusing on him. It's brilliant. It's truly like Sean Dursey knew exactly what he was doing, and that release is insane. It's got to be top 10 in the league.
Lightning fast. Like
I thought it was
unfair.
Really cool what he told you post game too. Like it's not about the accuracy. It's like just get it on the net as quick as you can, because I mean, if you're the goalie, it's so hard to stop, right? And he went. I don't know how many shots he got yesterday, but he got at least 2 goals. So
only had 3 shots.
Okay.
Yeah, he's an unbelievable player, and the fact that he's only 21 years old, and I mean, he's making Bill Armstrong look like it's just an absolute wizard with the way that they were able to acquire him and then extending him, during training camp. It's like, my goodness, if this is what we're going to get for the next decade, then Utah is in a really, really good spot. And then just to comment a little bit on Josh, game 1, he didn't have, anyway, it wasn't a bad game, but it wasn't, he wasn't really able to leave a big impression on the ice. Whereas last night against the Islanders, he was doing exactly what you want him to do. He was battling in the dirty areas. He was, hitting the forecheck incredibly hard, winning pucks back in the offensive zone, getting in front of the net. And then, the goal, I mean, amazing goal. Like you talked about, just just driving to the net, going to the net. You go to the net, good things are going to happen. But Kerfoot's assist was insane. Like just the awareness and then the ability to thread that puck with, so much pressure incoming. Utah made some magic happen last night and were rewarded for it. So a lot of fun to be there, and then to talk to the guys afterwards was a blast. They're all smiles. I mean, Josh just could not stop smiling, which was fun to see.
Yeah, that's great. And I noticed that he was mostly playing with Kerfoot and Kraus for the night. So obviously the roster juggled a little bit. Michelli down on the fourth line. Carcone came in for Liam O'Brien. So there has been some roster tweaking already. And again, I just need to give you a shout out, Cole. It's Cole Bagley, reporter for KSL. So you can find all of his written work there. Make sure you're following him on Twitter as well, because he's getting some great insight, getting great quotes all the time, game after game. I think this is a very nice luxury that the team has to be able to kind of carry two extra forwards and an extra defenseman, all who are capable of kind of bringing different elements to the game. So Carcone has kind of a nice little two-way skill. He's a little bit on the smaller side, but he's kind of like an Energizer bunny, just keeps going. A little bit of Connor Garland to his game. Liam O'Brien, obviously kind of that classic enforcer. So he's going to be able to do a little bit more grinding, kind of lay out some big hits, and obviously will be there in case things get kind of dirty out there on the ice. And then on the defensive side, we have Kolyachonok, who's a younger defenseman, has a nice two-way game, but, is still kind of adapting to the speed of the NHL. I felt like we saw that a little bit in that first game from him. And then Bortuzzo, who has not made the roster yet, and same as Yamamoto, who had a killer preseason, but again, hasn't actually played one of the two games yet. Do you have any indication of who may kind of come in or out of the lineup tomorrow against the Rangers?
It's tough to, I mean, you have to look at, just kind of the team that you're playing. And then as well, like just talking with Coach Bear, like, I think the roster is going to be pretty fluid, at certain points. I mean, why wouldn't it be when you have, so many talented guys that you, like you talked about, can rotate through and whatnot. So, yeah, I mean, I think we're still kind of getting a feel for what they're going to do. I mean, we've had two games and only, one difference, Liam O'Brien switching out the other night for Carcone. So I think, let's give it another 5 or so games, and I think we'll have a pretty good feeling for what's going to happen. But for right now, I know that they really like having as many talented skaters as they do. They like that they can swap guys out. Nothing is set. I think kind of those competitions are still going, because you do have, Bukestad returning at some point, and Marino returning at some point. So two guys, are going to be losing their spots when they return. And so those battles are going to continue. And I think it's going to be heavily based on, hey, how are you performing right now? And, what kind of value have you been bringing us since the season began? But right now I'd expect it to continue to be pretty fluid and just kind of based around, how are guys playing, what strengths do the other team have, and, who kind of best fits on a night-to-night basis.
And I almost wonder if tomorrow, with it being the Rangers home opener, if it's going to be similar to Utah's home opener, where there was, pressure is not the right word to put O'Brien in the lineup, but I wonder if we'll see the same with the Rangers and putting Matthew Rempe, the Empire State Building, in the lineup, right? Because if he's in the lineup, it might make more sense to pull Carcone out and put O'Brien back in. And Carcone was fine against the Islanders. It wasn't good or bad. He was kind of like Josh Stone in that first game, right? He was just a little quiet.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think if I was making a guess, I would say O'Brien returns tomorrow night and they swap out Carcone, just simply based off, what you just talked about. You need a little bit more muscle, going into this game than you did necessarily last night.
Any sense on when Karel Vejmelka could get his first game of the year? I know we don't have a back-to-back. I don't think it's until the end of November. Obviously, it's not going to be that long before Vejmelka gets a game, but I am kind of curious if he does get at least one go on this road trip.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. If I was just kind of taking a guess here, I would expect maybe it to come against New Jersey. I think just with the way that Connor's playing, you're gonna keep him in net. He's giving you your best chance to win these games, and these are important points. These are points that at the end of the season, can either come back to haunt you, or they can be what help get you into the playoffs. And if not that he's been perfect by any means, but he has definitely made some unbelievable saves that have kept Utah kept them in it last night, and during the home opener kept it from getting out of hand. So yeah, I'd say you just kind of roll with the hot pads and stick with Ingram and net, and maybe give Vejmelka his first go around against New Jersey, and then let Connor have some rest.
I mean, to me, that's why last night's win feels so huge. When the Islanders scored with 2 minutes left, it's like, I mean, if you're going to lose, you kind of want to lose early, but to lose with 2 minutes left on the clock and those 2 points go down the drain, but to get it into overtime and bank that first point and then get that second point, that's huge.
Definitely. I mean, to be at 4 points already is already such a big deal, and
top of the NHL.
Yeah, and I know that this is a road trip that historically has been tough, for this organization. So to start it off with a win, if you can come out and if you can shock the Rangers and be at 6 points and go, hey, we picked up 4 points on this 3-game road trip back east. I mean, mission accomplished. Even if you lose that game to New Jersey, doesn't matter. You made some big strides, and you showed that you're a legitimate team. You can compete with the best of them. So. Yeah, I would anticipate to see Connor tomorrow. Doesn't mean it won't change. Doesn't mean there's not a chance that we might see Vejmelka. But just based off how he's been playing and how big it would be to keep this thing going and start 3-0, you got to think that Connor's got the best chance to be on the ice tomorrow.
Right. I think so.
What's your sense around the internal competition and the chemistry in the room? We've got so many guys waiting in the wings, and I'm assuming some of these guys like Yamamoto are chomping on at the bit to get into the lineup. Do you have a sense of the team chemistry so far?
Yeah, I mean, like just in terms of like how they've been playing together, or like
I guess more gelling in the locker room, outside. I know it's difficult to tell so early on in the season, but there are a lot of guys looking for one opportunity to get into the opening night. I'm sorry, not the opening night, the roster. So I'm just curious to know if you've had your fingers on the pulse there at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really close-knit group, and I think potentially one of the closest in the NHL. Just the way that these guys are with each other. I think what we saw from Dursey standing up for Kells in that opening game. I was able to talk to him. He's got a nice shiner, by the way. I was able to talk to him about it, and the guy that he challenged, he's got 4 inches on him. And Durs isn't known as like an instigator or as an enforcer, but that to me just showed a lot of character, and it showed just kind of how tight this group is. And so I get a sense that they're close, but it's healthy competition.
Sure.
Yeah, there's definitely, especially amongst Yamamoto and O'Brien and Carconi and Doan and even Bukestad, there's definitely, I think, some intensity wrapped around the fact that guys know that there's only so many spots, and that as Bukestad returns, somebody's probably got to go. And then as well with Marino, it just kind of depends. Do they want to carry, continue to carry as many forwards, or do they swap them out, with a defenseman? So yeah, I think it's healthy competition, but just based off what I've seen from those players, and even Bukestad today, I tweeted out that he was on the ice longer than anybody. Working really, really hard. And I think that goes to show the fact that, hey, even when he comes back, he's got to respect the competition.
Yeah.
It's healthy. But it's intense, and guys are definitely given everything that they have to get a spot.
Well, you just teed that up like a Michelli's pass to Krause on that first power play goal for one question I had. And any idea of kind of the timelines for Bukestad or Marino? It sounds like Bukestad is on the ice, working out, pushing himself. Any idea if they could maybe return a little bit earlier than expected, or are we still kind of thinking in that November time range?
I'd stick with the November time range.
Okay.
That's what I've been told multiple times.
Yep.
And I think they're just being, just careful. I mean, this team's good. Team got a deep roster, and they've got a lot of guys that are stepping up and that are playing well. And so, they're not in any hurry to try to rush these guys back. And so, yeah, I think they're going to take it as carefully as they can. And I would stick more to that November timeline.
Great.
Do we know the nature of the Marino injury? Because I know he didn't play any of the preseason. So, I mean, it's probably classified as upper or lower body beyond that. But
yeah, I don't know beyond that. Sometimes and sometimes you don't. And this is a situation that I don't know anything beyond just kind of the upfront information that we've been told. So yeah, unfortunately.
Fair enough. I mean, he's an important piece, right? There's a lot of excitement to get him back because you add him and it really solidifies that defense. And I mean, it's played fine so far, but you bring him in and it kind of slots everyone a little bit more appropriately.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And I think Kolyachonik, there was at one point that he was facing a 2-on-1 yesterday. I don't know if you guys remember that point in the game, but he actually looked really poised. And it is, injuries are going to happen in the NHL. But I know Brad was a big Kolyachonik fan last year, and we got a little bit of a glimpse of him towards the end with the Coyotes. So it's these kind of situations, and we talked about this last podcast as well, but it's these kind of situations that can really give you a glimpse at the future and maybe give management an idea of, okay, if we do have to move on from someone, say a big trade at the deadline, right? We know we've got a guy waiting in the wings that can help out. So injuries are unfortunate, but are definitely opportune. And you can see that not only is this the deepest roster we've had in a while, but the deepest prospect pool as well. So it is exciting to see guys like Kolyachonik step up.
Yeah, and kind of on top of that, or I guess shifting the other way, though, is we've seen it 2 games now where this team starts to kind of struggle a little bit in the second period. I think both games, the second period was by far the worst for the team. It felt like for most of the half of both of those periods, the opposition was able to really capitalize on maybe the players coming out a little slow. Maybe the opposition was coming out a little bit more amped up after they saw kind of the speed of the team and understood how to make those adjustments. But unfortunately, I thought Valimaki kind of struggled the most in those situations. And I do want to stress that I think that will be the importance of having somebody like Marino coming back in order to kind of maybe push him down a pair, allow him to take on a little less minutes, because the Jersey Sergachev top pairing has looked pretty good, but really those are your 2 minute munchers right now. And I think we are kind of seeing the result of them being paired together and how that's trickling down the lineup.
The other issue too that's plagued this team is penalties.
Yes.
They've taken too many penalties and some very untimely penalties. Last night there's for 6 minutes of a period, you're down a man consistently, and that's you're not going to win a lot of hockey games that way. Now their resilience was something to be talked about for sure, especially that 4-minute double minor. I think was by Cooley, high stick. I mean, phenomenal effort to protect their zone for most of that penalty. They stuck to their assignments. They set up and they stopped a lot of opportunities. I was really impressed with Sergachev last night. I thought that was the best game that he's had in a Utah sweater so far, including the preseason. Just looked like an elite defenseman. Made a lot of smart plays, sacrificed his body. He took some shots. He laid down on the ice to stop a pass. He used his stick to stop another that would have been a 2-on-1, and he just does a really good job of forcing forwards to the boards away from the net, with his body. And I thought he looked fantastic. I was able to talk to him this morning, and he said, "Yeah, we're continuing to get better. We're continuing to create chemistry and learn how each other plays." And he also just said that he gave props to the entire team. He said, "Yeah, it's a lot of fun to play on the top line, but all 4 lines are good. Everybody knows what they're doing. Everybody knows how to play And so yeah, he looked fantastic, and it's making a big difference. And I think it's what's going to elevate this team to a potential playoff spot is just having legitimate defensemen that know what to do.
Did he mention at all how pissed off he is at Hayton for taking away all his goals that he's got? It's just, every time you see it, it's like it's a goal by Sergachev. Nope, it's not. You see Hayton celebrating right away. So
No, I asked him. I said, "Did you guys know that? Did you know that Hayton got the tip initially?" And he's like, "Yeah, it definitely changed direction. That was not like to my doing." So he's like, "We pretty much thought that Hayt got the tip on that." And then I asked him. I said, "What's helping you guys score 10 goals in 2 games? You know, you're tied for first with the Bruins." And that's when he told me he's like, Dylan Guenther's not that good of a player. But we all suck at the end of the day. So he's a funny guy. I like talking to Sergachev. Funny guy.
Yeah, he seems like a good character. Corey, you brought up a really interesting point about Barrett Hayton and how long it took him to get to 2 goals. Do you mind kind of rehashing some of those stats?
Yeah, so I mean, especially the last 2 years, he went goalless in October for both of the last 2 seasons. So really cool to see him kind of get that head start this year. I mean, again, very early, but 2 goals in 2 games, because you got to think, like, if he did another, not even a goalless October, but if he goes 4, 5, 6 games without a goal, I think previously not only was it without a goal, but it was without a point. But to get that early momentum, this is just what he needs. And you look at the last couple of seasons, I mean, only 33 games last year, but just some freak injuries. I don't remember, I guess it was, last season, right? One was he broke his hand because he was, again, standing in front of the net doing his job on the power play, and the puck hit his hand, broke his hand, and he missed such a great chunk of time. But I mean, early signs are he's returning to the player that we saw 2 years ago when he had 19 goals and I think it was 40 something points. He really makes that line with Keller and Schmaltz work.
Yeah.
I actually asked Coach Barrett today about Hayton. I said, "Look, this guy looks, like a completely different player. Obviously he's dealt with some injuries, but he looks, the best that I think I've ever seen him play. And he's got a couple of goals that he's scored and he's gotten some points." I said, "Does he look any different? Does he seem different?" He says he doesn't look different, but he looks more, in terms of his skill set, but he looks, and I think he's more confident. And I have to agree with you. I think he's playing with a much different swagger. I think he's excited. He seems to be really, just all smiles and really enjoying what he's doing. And I think a lot of it's the fact that he's
Cliffhanger.
sorry. He's in a much better
You're good now.
situation. Sorry, yeah. I just think he's in a much better situation, and it's showing in the way that he's playing. He's playing incredibly aggressive. He's playing really smart, and he's putting pucks in the net.
I think you could almost make the case that he's the most important player on this team, which, I mean, sounds a little crazy when Guenther's got 4 goals, Keller's got all kinds of points,
Great point.
Ingram's made huge saves, Sergachev's solidified the back end, but you look at the center depth, and I mean, Logan Cooley's, I mean, he's a great player already, but he's going to be even better, but he's still only 20 years old. You look at the center depth, Bukestad's out, Kerfoot's playing center, but he's really more of a wing at this point. Kevin Stenlund is more of a PK fourth line guy, but if you take Hayton out of that middle of the ice, that's a huge hole for this team. So he's a really important piece. So not only does he make Keller and Schmaltz go, but he really holds together the center of the ice.
I think this is going to be his best season in the NHL.
Right.
I really do.
Yeah.
And it's so exciting because I think there's so much attention right now on Guenther and Cooley, as there absolutely should be. But don't sleep on Hayton to be, a guy that has potentially a breakout best season of his career type situation. These are all the reasons that this team is gaining so much attention, and that people are saying, "Hey, Utah might make the playoffs," because they really might make the playoffs. I mean, yeah, it's early. They're 2-0. They've only played 2 games, so let's not get too excited. But it's hard not to, based off the way that these guys are playing.
Yeah. Absolutely. And one comment about Hayton too is, don't forget, this was a kid who was kind of a larger, bulkier center back when he was in junior for the Sioux. And obviously, once you take that leap to the NHL, when you're in your early 20s and whatnot, your frame hasn't filled out completely, and he's being asked to play like these larger centers in the league, especially kind of the West Coast prototypical top center you see, which generally is much larger. And it does feel like he's obviously getting older. We all are, and filling out that frame more. He's like you mentioned, getting that confidence again, and he's kind of learned what his role is. And there's a lot of times he becomes a complete agitator. Watch him throughout the season. Watch how many times he's in front of the net and he gets shoved away, and the opposition players are just screaming their heads off at him, and he just is smiling from ear to ear, just loving every minute of whatever those players are complimenting him with, but it's going to be interesting because I think, like you mentioned, that confidence is going to go a long way, and having those 2 goals in his first 2 games is huge, because last season it took him 16 games to get 2 goals. And then 2 seasons ago, it took him 34 games to get 2 goals, but he ended up with 19 that season. And that was that kind of breakout season we saw, where that last half of the season, he was
turning into game.
Yeah.
There was a stretch, I think it was, I want to say 22 points in 22 games. I mean, I don't think he's going to be point per game. Like, he's not going to finish this year with 82 points, but I wouldn't be at all surprised if he's in the 50s.
Absolutely. I have him having his first 60-point year this year. Barring injury, I think he is more than capable of being a 60-point player this year, especially manning that top line with Keller and Schmaltz. They're the 2 that cycles the puck, and he is not afraid to get in front of the net, and he's going to go to those dirty areas and clean up. So I say if he has a healthy season, or a majority or major, I don't know how to say that word, majority of the year he's healthy, I would say he's a 60-point player for sure.
Yeah, and if you think it's all grit and all kind of greasy goals, make sure you go to YouTube and check out his filthy goal against the Winnipeg Jets. I think that was 2 seasons ago, or was that last season? And everybody was really excited to see him getting going, and then just kind of never happened. But he's got a lot of skill too. So 5th
Hockey
overall
Canada one
pick.
with one shoulder.
Yes.
I know.
Oh, that story's insane
too.
Yeah,
that was.
I need a little Canadian flag here, but I don't have one.
But yeah, I think you're absolutely spot on that he is going to be a crucial piece to this team's success moving forward. And speaking about playoffs, and I know it's too early to talk about it, but Cole, how was that first game? Can we officially say that we had a playoff atmosphere at the Utah at Delta Center?
Yeah, we definitely did. It was it was a sellout. So they had, including the obstructed seats, they had just over 16,000 people in there. They had T-shirts, and they had rally towels, and a bunch of exclusive merchandise. They did the most. They had the biggest number of sales merchandise wise in the history of the Delta Center on that night. They sold the most beer that they'd ever sold in the Delta Center.
I was even there to help out with that one.
I know. Yeah, imagine if we were, Brad.
Yeah.
The best thing about the merch. Just the best thing about the merch. Did you see the viral photo? It was Bill Daly. I don't know what he was buying, but he was buying something. The deputy commissioner of the NHL. So maybe he is a closet Utah fan.
There we go.
Yeah. So it was crazy, and just everything leading up to it with the commissioner and Ryan and Ashley Smith talking about the team and the move and everything, and then all the little games that they had, and the blue carpet that they did for the players, and Shabuzi playing a concert out there. Like, it was, the Smiths did an incredible job just making that event feel like the most important thing in the world that evening, and Utah fans showed up, and it was a great time. I mean, just countless moments of just getting chills, like just you feel it, you can feel the energy, like they're doing the player intros, and every single player just gets a standing ovation, and then Keller comes out, and everybody shows love to their captain, and they have a Jazz player bring the ceremonial puck out on skates, which was so awesome. And
scary though.
Yeah. Hey, he's finished though, so like he's able to skate, right?
Yeah. They panned over to Bill Armstrong, and his eyes just lit up.
Get the contract ready.
It was awesome. It was awesome. So everything was amazing. Similar to the preseason opener. The place was just waiting for something to explode about, and Gunther gets the first goal, which was just, you couldn't have written a better script, and the place just erupts and goes absolutely bonkers. And then Keller scores again just a few minutes later, and it got just as crazy. And then the third period, the energy, especially the last couple of minutes, as they scored a few goals, the open net goal, and then Kraft's getting another one. It was amazing, and they captured so many new hockey fans, both at the arena and watching from home. I mean, just to see the reactions on social media, like the NHL is alive and well in Utah already. And it's just so fun to be, a part of this, because they couldn't have come in a better time. Like the Utah Jazz are not in a very good spot right now. They're in a rebuild too, but they're a few steps behind where the hockey club is. And so, Bill is showing that all the hard work that he's done, and it's paying off, and Utah fans are loving their hockey. And it's only 2 games in, so we'll see, how long the excitement lasts for, but it's amazing. It's so incredible.
Yeah, it's like the hockey club is like the bad boy cousin to the Utah Jazz. They move into town, and everybody goes and watches them and gets drunk with them.
Totally.
I of course they would crush the beer sales on the first hockey game of the night. But yeah, it's so cool to see how involved the Jazz are, and obviously specifically Ryan Smith. You saw him down in that locker room getting the game puck, and my dad, who's a huge hockey fan as well, he looked at me, he's like, how old is that guy? I was like, he looks older than you, or you look older than him. And I was like, yeah, it's crazy. He just seems so well liked there, and it's encouraging to see. Obviously, you've heard about our previous owner, but just looking at that locker room, it was incredible. And then just watching him down there chop it up with the players, especially with the Jazz guys there. I hope that's a sign of more things to come like that, because if that's the case, then everybody's going to want to come to Utah.
That locker room is crazy. Like, they can put that together in 5 months. What can they do in 2 or 3 years?
Yeah. Actually, I talked to Ryan the other day, and I just asked him, like, has anybody asked you, like, what's been your favorite part of this whole thing? Because I mean, the amount of stuff that you've had to do is crazy. And he said his favorite part was just watching the guys come in and watching them be embraced. Watching our community rally behind these hockey players has just been so much fun for him, and to watch them come into, almost like little kids, coming in, and just because he cares so much about the community of Utah, and he wants to portray that, and he wants to take care of the things that he looks after, and that's definitely what he's done with the club. The facilities that he's made sure to put into place, the ones that are being built and constructed, but as well the ones that already exist and have been improved. And so like you were talking about, the locker room in there, it's just it's gorgeous. The stalls that all the players have, and then there's this huge, massive Utah Hockey Club logo up on the ceiling. They haven't let us take pictures in there quite yet, but it's magnificent. It's a beautiful locker room. It's a beautiful arena. I mean, it's funny because it's the worst arena in the NHL, but that just goes to show how nice the arenas are, league wide. And I just think what they've done, and especially with what Ryan has been able to do and overseen in such a short amount of time is absolutely unbelievable.
Yep. And you can only imagine, I think Corey was about to speak on it, but like, if they were able to do that in such a small amount of time, what are they going to do with the arena? You say it's the worst in the NHL right now, but even looking at it, it still looks beautiful, right? And you can only imagine what those renovations are going to look like. I mean, these players were getting dressed in a Pop-Tart box last year, so anything's going to be a little bit better. But really, it was, when I got a glimpse of it, and you see all the LED lights, and then that huge logo, and man, they just look so comfortable and happy there. So I'm really excited to see what the Delta Center looks like in a couple of years.
It's going to be phenomenal.
Very cool. Well, speaking of that Pop-Tart locker room, I'm actually heading over to the mall in a little bit to see ASU take on Michigan University. Guys, anything else we want to chat about before we wrap this one up?
Cole, just one last quick question. We're gonna ask this every time we have you.
Sure.
Anybody else slip up recently and say Yeti?
Not that I'm aware of.
I feel like it's coming soon. They got to drop the name soon so they can start to brand it and get it ready for next year. So I'm just waiting. That's going to be a huge day.
It's going to be cool because we're almost going to get like an inaugural season 2 years in a row. This is the first hockey club season or first NHL season in Utah. Next year is going to be the first Yeti season or whatever they're called, and with the mascot for the first time and the new kits and everything. It's really kind of exciting. We're going to have a lot to talk about this offseason.
Yeah, I was able to actually talk a little bit with Ryan about the branding as well. And, I wouldn't anticipate that the sweaters are going to change that much. I think what we're going to see is them just kind of take the logo and just stick it right on there. But I also wouldn't be shocked to see at least one of what we have right now continue. Moving forward. I won't say which one, but they're not that different. So, I think there's going to be one of their sweaters that they have now should continue moving forward, and then they'll introduce what I anticipate to be 2 new sweaters. I would be shocked if we don't get an alternate that's the mountain blue, which is going to be absolutely gorgeous. And it's really cool just to speak more to just kind of the character of Ryan Smith. I asked him because I had heard that he had gotten directly involved with Fanatics to get the jerseys sooner than early 2025. And so I just asked him, like, hey, original timeline was jerseys were going to be available for purchase in January. Now it's November. What happened? He said, when I heard that early 2025 was as soon as they were going to get here, that didn't sit right with me. So he jumped on the phone and called the CEO of Fanatics directly and said, hey, look, what can you do here? Like, we've got to capture this moment. We've got to get fans in these sweaters and not miss this window of opportunity. And he said, you know what, you're right. So I'll get my people on it. And Ryan told me that he thinks that they'll be arriving November 1st. So
awesome.
Not too far away. And we'll see what happens, but you can bet that there's going to be a lot of number 11 sweaters in Delta Center in about a month from now.
So November is Bukestad and Marino and the jerseys.
Yeah, for sure. If it does come up organically, I know it's kind of tricky to do, but if you start talking about the jerseys again, if you want to casually mention how sick powder blue gloves would look like with that alt jersey, that would be insane. That would be one of the sickest setups ever.
Give me the mountain blue in the pants with the white, with the away jersey, and then lids too. Like, that would be
sure.
Yeah.
Yep. The way I think of it is like, you know how San Jose went all teal?
Yeah.
Imagine if we did that with the powder blue, just like the powder blue gloves, the breezers, the socks, the helmet. That would be one of the best jerseys. It's like kind of remnant of the Quebec Nordiques, except for introduce the black instead. And so if it comes up, just be like, oh yeah, kind of like San Jose with something like that. I'll Venmo you.
I'll see what I can do.
All right, sounds good. Hey, I have to take my shot. So
awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us again, Cole. Again, you can find Cole on Twitter at Bagley KSL Sports. You can find all of his written content at KSL as well. Enjoy this road trip, man. This must be a totally surreal experience being out there on the East Coast already. Make sure you get your sleep. All right.
Yeah.
We want you nice and sharp to get some good quotes. Taking those games, enjoy it all, and just have a complete blast out there, Cole.
Yeah, it's been surreal. I was sitting in Madison Square Garden this morning just looking around, and I look over and I think you guys have had Brogan on, and we kind of just look at each other and we're like, what life are we living right now? Like, this is just It's unbelievable. You know, I mean, I've been watching games on TV that have been at these venues for most of my life, and so now to be in these and to be sitting on press row, to be in the locker rooms talking with players, like it's amazing. And so I hope that I'm doing right by the fans and the content that I'm able to gather and share with you guys. You know, hopefully it's enjoyable, and that I can help you guys make you feel as much a part of this as we are.
Well, we think you're doing an incredible job. We appreciate you so much for everything that you're doing. So thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. It's my pleasure.
All right, thanks. And make sure you go give Brogan a noogie for us or something, okay?
Yeah.
Wet Willy, whichever one you want.
Yeah.
All right,
For
thanks
sure.
again, Cole. Great chatting.
Thanks, guys.
All right, take care. Always fantastic stuff from Cole. We'll definitely be having him on throughout the season. Guys, how you feeling? Pretty stoked? You ready for the game tomorrow?
Yeah, I just want pizza. Ever since I saw.
Yeah.
How many days left on the thing?
Oh, dude, like 54. But it's okay. I'm just so jealous of the guys out in New York. But man, I love this upcoming road trip. I love playing the New York teams. It's just great for viewership, and then we get to come back home. It's like a weird road trip, right? We got the Islanders, the Rangers, and then I think we come back and play the Ducks. But still, great exposure for the team early on. I love all the attention that Gunther's getting. There were some guys a couple months ago. Corey, I think you're the one that found this. Is like some guys online that didn't even know who Dylan Gunther was before he signed his contract. Well, now everybody knows. I mean, he's a leading goal scorer. He's going to break Gretzky's record next year. So, I
mean, that first goal was right in Ovechkin's office last night.
Yeah,
so it really was.
So, and no one was covering him.
Yeah,
nope.
Weird. That'll change. But,
yes.
Yeah. But no, I'm excited, ready to go. I love this.
Yeah, I think them coming out of this road trip with 5 points on the season would be fantastic. So I am happy if they get a loss and an overtime loss, 5 points. If they manage to get 6 points on this road trip, though, they are set up to just be able to kind of ride this momentum for a while, I feel. And I think this is going to be a team that maybe some teams play down to. I still think they're going to have a huge home ice advantage between the altitude and just the sheer volume in there. And then obviously just kind of the excitement of being a newer team playing in front of a new home crowd. We've seen this kind of time and time again with these newer teams. But a lot of them haven't been as established as this roster is. And a lot of those teams didn't have kind of this up-and-coming talent. So extremely excited for the rest of the season if these two games give us an idea of what this ride might be like. One last thing. Again, don't forget to check us out at cleanhitshockey.com for all of our written content. If you can't get enough of this team, just like we can't, join us over there to check out kind of all of our player profiles. We got the 2024-2025 Utah Hockey Club roster primer out right now. Covers all the players so you can get to know them. Some of them will have links to our full preseason report cards so you can get even more in-depth articles about those players, kind of learn about their background, how they did last year, and kind of what our expectations are for them this year. Obviously, we have a ton of other content on there. Trent, who unfortunately couldn't be with us today, is going to be kind of covering all of the Utah's prospects. So if you want to really geek out with the rest of us and learn more about those prospects, definitely give us a follow there. Find us on Instagram at cleanhitshockey.com for all of Kenny's incredible videos and memes and everything else along the way there. Definitely make sure you find all of our individual accounts. We got Clean Hits Corey, Clean Hits Kenny, Shane Doan Respecter is Trent, and I am Gretzky Betsky. We got all different types of angles out there on this team or the NHL in general. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. I think that's it, guys, but that is a mouthful. Anyways, thank you so much for tuning into the Clean Hits Hockey Podcast. We got some exciting things coming up, so we'll see you next time. All right, adios, everybody.
We know we running it now. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change.